Okay, guys, I'm super excited to welcome our next guest to Let's Get Freaky. We've got Tim on the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming on, man. I'm very excited to talk to you. I've listened to your show. I've heard you on other podcasts. So I'm excited to get into your paranormal experiences.
Got a few of them, but you cited one when you wrote me.
Yeah, yeah,
So you want to start with that one?
yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Uh, I was what was that? You wrote something about in Instagram about refreshing
Yeah.
my memory.
So I've always put loads of stuff on Instagram, but I believe I posted a video
Oh,
of
right.
Uri Geller.
Yes.
I believe it was in his museum, and he was talking about um
An alien video he had.
yeah, he was saying that he shows you an alien video, but he's saying he had seen that in real life,
That
I
actual
believe.
creature. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
The movement, that CG, it's really good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
And that's my background. I do film production. So I know pretty well if it's
So
fake or
when you
not.
see a video like that, can you tell
Mhm.
pretty much straight away if
Yeah,
it's fake?
absolutely. Yeah. That one has me at least on the edge of believing it's a real thing.
Yeah, it
And I
is.
say
It
that
does look.
because his movement, the camera movement, and the fact that he is actually in the interactive motion, he raises his arm at one point and moves something like turning a doorknob or something.
Yeah,
And it was amazing. The only thing he didn't do was blink, and he's an alien creature. Who knows if he blinks? I mean,
yeah,
spiders don't blink.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's true, man.
Snakes don't
Yeah,
blink.
yeah, yeah. I've
So
spoken to people that have said that they've seen certain alien entities, and that they say that sometimes when you see these things, it doesn't look real. It doesn't. They don't move the same as. So
yeah,
I sometimes take that in consideration when I'm looking at these videos, because obviously
yeah.
there's a lot of fake videos out there. But
There's a
I know,
ton. Some of them are super good. I
yeah,
mean, they will fool you,
they trick me
but
all the time.
yeah, they will fool you. I reserve a little bit of skepticism, but with regard to Uri Geller's video about that creature, I'm right on the fence, man. I want to say yes real bad.
Yeah,
you know,
interesting, interesting.
I want to say
That's
yes
really
real
cool.
bad.
That's really good. Someone like yourself that's got that experience. It's cool to hear that you're saying that could
It's
be a real video.
fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be a very good, very well could. I mean, I don't have the actual original video. I can't do a metadata scan and verify that, but as far as my eye goes, yeah, I'm leaning yes. Skeptical,
interesting.
but I'm leaning yes.
Yeah, I think it's good to be skeptical. But can I ask you, going off subject a
Sure,
little bit, your
sure.
thoughts on the Patterson Gimlin film?
Oh, Patterson Gimlin. You see, that's in my state. That
Yeah,
happened
yeah, yeah.
pretty much in my backyard, like maybe 60 miles north of me.
Oh
And
wow,
yeah, and I actually met his Gimlin. I actually met him.
really?
I
Oh
met Bob.
wow,
Yeah, it was brief, but I met him. He was signing autographs at the Bigfoot Museum
that's
in Ben
awesome.
Lomond. And Ben Lomond.
That's awesome, man.
And his video was playing on a loop on the computer. And while Bob was occupied, sorry, I don't know him. I don't know him firsthand. I call him Bob though. The owner of the museum, who's been on a number of hunts himself, Bigfoot hunts, I asked him, okay, so one, Bob's telling the truth, and two, what's the best piece of evidence that's ever been found? And he says, you know what? You're looking at it. I mean, I have footprints in here. I have knuckle palm prints that have been captured, and that Gimlin footage is unreal. And what recently backed up that footage for me as far as being legit, and I do believe it is legit. I will go on air and say that. Um, there was a show I think it's called Hunting for Bigfoot, but don't quote me on that one. It's where that one Bigfoot expert that's on every other show on Discovery or Travel Channel, and then he has that, dare I say, very attractive female scientist with him. And they're both out in Oregon somewhere,
Yeah, yeah,
and their boss is in a cabin not too far away, kind of doing outside investigations outside of this zone they're hunting. Well,
yeah, yeah,
he dips down to California. In fact, I think they're going to concentrate in California in the following season. And he gets a hold of that footage, and then he gets a hold of a lidar operator. So he's going to take the lidar out to that area and scan it. Okay. And what they're going to do is they're going to compare that scan, and it was way overgrown compared to what it was then, because there was a flood there and it washed a lot of stuff out when the Gimlin film was shot. So when he goes in there's nothing but bramble, but he's still scanning, and he's able to identify certain landmarks that have not changed. And when he makes the comparison, he's able to say, oh, this hairy individual is 6'3" for sure. 6'3". That's a big lady.
yeah, yeah,
And they say it was lady. There's a sign of the hint of breasts and all that fun stuff. She has a weird hematoma on her leg and all that fun stuff. But it was that particular piece of information that really more or less confirmed it for me, because the monster, the guy in the Bigfoot suit that Gimlin and Patterson got, because they were going to make a mockumentary of Bigfoot. That was their goal, and they just were taking test footage. And there's this thing he just shows up. I mean, we know that story, but it was the guy they got was 5'9", even on stilts. I mean, he didn't wear any stilts when he put the monkey suit on, because that's basically what it was. They just changed it to be red. But he was like 5'9", 5'10", something like that. Nowhere near 6'3" or 6'2" or whatever it was. And so that cemented it for me. It's like, oh, that dude. They probably have some test footage of him walking around for sure, but no, that was the real deal. I'm convinced. I'm fully convinced.
Well, I didn't realize they were going out there to sort of do a fake one.
That was
I
the
didn't know
original
that.
goal, because
Okay.
all the Bigfoot reportings had been coming in. It was like there was a weird Bigfoot flap up in the area.
Yeah, yeah,
And they said, well, let's, because why else are you going to have a camera out in the? That didn't make sense back then,
yeah,
especially back then. Now everyone's got a cell phone; they can do it all day long.
yeah,
But back then, to have an 8mm reel out there and spare film and all the rest of it, and everything about the motion of Gimlin getting off the horse, he's rocking with it, and he's trying to steady it, and you can see his hand is shaking,
yeah,
because that's how there's this. He pans with it, but there's this weird wobble to it too, and it's because he's shaking so bad. He's actually filming this
yeah.
creature, and so everything about that, and when they corrected it, it was beautiful. I love that. The 4K adaptation was amazing.
Yeah, it is incredible. Seeing the muscles moving it and stuff, and
Oh, it was
like,
amazing.
how would you be able to fake that back then? Like,
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. You'd have to have a different person in a different suit, and they agreed to be fully forensically examined, and they couldn't find anything that would
yeah,
account for what they had there. And
interesting.
yeah,
So,
they were. Yeah, go ahead.
no, interesting, man. It's very interesting. So, in the video that I put up, you replied to it saying that you'd seen alien creatures yourself. That was sort of a mixture between tall whites and Nordics.
Oh, no, they were a mixture between Greys and
Greys and Nordics. Sorry, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And they're called the Tall Whites. That's Carl. Oh my gosh, talk about dropping names. Oh my gosh, Carl Smith. It's not
I
Smith, it's something else.
I forget names
I
all
think
the time,
maybe.
man.
Okay, so hopefully that'll be in the descriptions.
Yeah, yeah.
But he
I'll
was an
edit and
Air
we'll add the
Force.
name in.
Carl.
Yeah. We just do
I'll add it in there.
we just do first names and let's get freaky. We don't do second names.
I like it. So Carl, I forget his name. I'm sorry, Carl. Former Air Force guy, interacted with these creatures, which is crazy. And I heard this story on Coast to Coast AM, and it was a week later. I should say this was in 2002, summer of 2002. And I was, before I jump ahead, so in the program, he mentions that he was so involved with these creatures and the US government, in dealing with these creatures, whether officially or not, because I mean, I'm former Air Force myself. I worked at NASA. I saw a ton of stuff I wasn't supposed to see. But
Wow.
oh yeah, there's stories there too.
We've got
But
to get into that in a minute.
yeah. But he had the same problem. I mean, especially back in what do you see, was the 70s or 80s? It was just kind of, you had to take everyone face value, made sure they, everyone obeyed orders and all that fun stuff. Or at least most people assume. But I digress. So he interacted with these creatures, and he knew that uh, the Men in Black or the CIA outfit that ran that, or DEA or whatever it was, pick a 3-letter agency. Someone ran Men in Black at one point, and I think it jumped from agency to agency. Would take these guys out on the town to different locations, and he listed them. LA, not hard for an alien to blend if you're humanoid in LA. Las Vegas, again, not hard to blend into Las Vegas. New York, not hard to not hard to blend in New York at all. And then what he didn't mention was Santa Cruz, California. That's a little ways from me, right next to the coast. If you're a fan of Lost Boys, Santa Cruz stood in for Santa Carla. That was where they filmed it. So that beach boardwalk in that movie, yes, that's where this happened.
Wow.
I mean, wow. That was crazy. To think I just now realized that correlation. That kind of interesting. Personal correlation. So I'm DJing. We're setting up for a dance. I got a buddy with me. I get assigned a partner every time I do a gig, and it's someone different through this outfit. And we're loading in speakers and gear and stuff out of the van into the cargo elevator. And for those who know the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, we're at the North End Convention Hall, which is upstairs. Small detail, but it will come into play. So we're loaded in, and I happen to be looking out, and along the frontage road, there's traffic and there's cars and there's parking lots right across from the amusement park that is the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, because those are the roller coasters and the rides and the carnival stuff. It's a pretty busy place, especially during the summer, and it was about this time of year. So we're loading in, and I noticed this little girl, but she's tall. She's like maybe 10, 11, tall, and she's running around with a bunch of 5 and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds, and they're just kind of running in a big range, laughing their little butts off, having the greatest time of their life. It's easy to entertain kids, I guess. So, or they entertain themselves. And this 2002, brand new at the time, VW bug pulls up. Remember those domed, really fanciful VW bugs? Pulls up, lime green, really bright color, kind of upsetting to the eyes, to be honest, but rolls up, and this girl loses her little kid mind and points. Now, when she points, it's made abundantly clear that her fingers are not human length. They are way longer, like skeletal, but way, way longer. And as she does it, she keeps pointing, and she looks back, and it's like she's shouting, but there's no sound coming out at all. And I follow her line of sight because I want to know what the heck's going on. I'm thinking maybe she's deaf or something, but she's pointing like crazy at this VW bug. She is super excited to see it. And I follow her line of sight back, and there's a woman. I noticed a hint of a breast under. This is going to sound silly, but she was wearing something very akin to Jedi robes, right out of Star Wars, but she had the hood up, and there's a hint of a nose poking through, and she had the same color hair, bangs, speaking out just a little bit. And Mom's standing there like this, arms folded within the sleeves, you know, and there's no words coming out of anybody's mouth whatsoever. So maybe there's telepathy happening there. That's a guess because she wasn't speaking. But the kid's going nuts. And the mother says, doesn't say, but goes, stop and come here. Again, super long fingers on this woman, just like her kid. And I should mention that both are alabaster white. I mean, damn near like too fair, almost albino, if not albino, in their appearance. Platinum hair. Both wore excessively oversized sunglasses. And when Mom does this, I call her Mom, does this, and then she points down, like, stop and come here now, is how I interpreted it. And the kid does a typical little kid thing. Oh my God, throws a little tantrum. It does the hard stomp march back to her mom. And it I didn't realize this until she stood next to her mom, that she was tall for her age, but Mom was 7 foot tall. And then these two dudes step in and flank Mom and daughter. And they got black suits on, but they have trench coats, driving cut trench coats that kind of come like halfway down the thigh. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And one is beige and one is like a darker blue, but still kind of a brightish darker blue. I don't know how else to describe it. And one goes like this, just like you see Secret Service do all the time, or whoever. And they you know, they're very militant in their presentation. They're at forward parade, rest hands in front. And then a limo screams up out of nowhere. Doors open. They let these two alabaster colored folks in, get in with them, do a quick little first they do a quick little check, and one of them sights me, and I look down the last possible second as I'm moving stuff along, and they tear out of there. That was the whole experience.
Wow.
It was pretty intense.
Wow, man.
Yeah. And I remarked to the guy, because I'm just making sure I'm not losing my mind. I'm not seeing things, not seeing what I want to see. My buddy, my partner for that night, said, you know, I say, dude, look at that little girl. Yeah, what about her? Look at her fingers. Yeah, that's weird. Help me move the speakers. Couldn't care less.
How, man? That's amazing.
That was just incredible experience.
Wow.
And the fact that I heard about the week before, there's a word for that. I can't remember it.
Synchronicity?
Synchronicity, that's the word. Woohoo!
Just came to me.
Nicely done. That was I'm not even a big fan of that word, but it sums up what I was trying to get to before.
We have to say, before we started the show, we spoke about that, and we mentioned, and we both couldn't remember that word. It literally just came back to me.
Right on. Way to save it.
Wow. Nice. The podcast gods are with us. Yeah, that's crazy though. So you had these. Did you have that in your mind when you saw these whatever they were?
I kind of did, and that's why my buddies started ribbing me. It's like, help me move this shit. Pardon my French. And so you know, yeah, weird hands, help me move the speakers, and it started clicking. It's like after they left, it's like, what the heck did I just see? Because this entire play of life, whatever it was, whatever it is you want to call it, took maybe 2 or 3 minutes. But it was, I knew I'd seen something weird, so I dug deep and I made sure I
Yeah.
made a really good imprint in my memory.
Yeah, man.
And
I mean, you don't normally see 7-foot ladies. That's quite rare.
no, no, and
Wow.
she was definitely female. She had enough of a hint of a breast under these robes that
Yeah.
that's
And
that
she
was
was wearing robes. I mean, that's
in the
yeah.
sun on in the summer on one of the hotter days of the year
Yeah.
at the beach boardwalk. I mean, it doesn't get much hotter.
Yeah.
You wear robes, which is out. Now the funny thing is the little girl was wearing human clothes. To she had a red top on and she had white pants and she had like red high top Converse, red and white. She wanted to look like Waldo. I don't know.
Yeah.
And even her sunglasses. Remember, I said she had oversized sunglasses. They were red rimmed.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Very interesting. So the guys that were with her that were, let's say, normal, I mean, they were
They were
like just
humanoid.
normal,
Yeah.
average. Yeah. They were possibly like, let's say, Men in Black. I mean, that sort of
They
vibe.
had black suits on. They were very stern in their look. They had sunglasses on, regular size, kind of like my shape of my eyeglasses here, but
Yeah.
dark. And standing,
On
they were
guard.
at the on guard at the ready, hands in front. And they did have black suits on, but they had weird colored trench coats over them. Not what I would expect the man might be.
So
But
interesting.
excuse me. But
So
when the one guy
interesting.
speaks into his little sleeve mic,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
that was the dead giveaway right there.
So you got a feeling that these were like obviously sort of like VIPs. They were being looked after.
They were being looked after. Yeah.
Oh,
That
interesting.
was my impression anyway, especially when you go like this and not even a minute and a half later, a limo comes whipping around out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah. These have
And I
got
mean,
some.
whipping around. That thing, this driver was not fooling around. He pulled in, peeled out the whole thing. It was pedal to the metal that whole time with that limo. It was
Yeah.
really unsafe, but they did it anyway. They didn't care. It
Was
was
was they was they in an area that like you could only be if you're to do with the show and stuff like that? Was they in like a special area?
No, they were so there's to describe the boardwalk is a little weird. Um so there's this big main building. It's the original boardwalk. And or I'm sorry, the fun and games facility. And beyond that, it's a little more open air. It's where they have the rest of the rides and stuff. They'd expanded it since the 60s or 70s. And so we're in the older section where there was an actual building. And they were in front of that. It's kind of just the frontage road. The building that has almost no windows except for the second floor turrets on either end. And that's where they were. They were kind of by us by the loading dock at the far north end of the building. They were maybe, I call it maybe 50 feet away at the most. And there was a little dig out in the curb where they could pull in, pull out real quick.
Interesting. I don't know what it is. I mean, I find all alien entities interesting. Greys, I think they're all fascinating. But there's something about the Nordic looking aliens that really fascinate me.
I'm going to share a picture with you if you don't mind.
Yeah, awesome.
Can I ask you to enable that, please? It's on your end. You have to
How
hit the
do
little
I
arrow.
how do I do that?
Hit the little arrow next to share screen and say advanced, and then you should say host and participant.
I really should know how to do this. Where does it say share screen?
So there's a little green button at the bottom, or at least on my screen.
Yes. Okay.
And there's a little arrow next to it.
So I click that arrow.
Click that and then say advanced something.
Yeah. Advanced sharing options. Yep.
And then there's a little button that says host only, and then host in participant
All,
sharing.
all participants, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Click that.
All right, let's see. Nope,
Why is
not
it on
yet.
there? Oh, there we go. Okay, should work now.
Bingo. Okay, got it.
Nice. Is that all good? Right, we can do
Yeah,
that.
I can do it on my end. Let me call up the picture. I'm just gonna
Awesome.
share. Whoops. Okay. I don't know if it'll see that. Okay. So this is one interpretation of what the
Wow.
tall whites look like without the sunglasses. Now I want you to note the bangs on the adult here. That
Yep.
page boy long bang cut. Now stick it on the kid. And
Okay, that's how it looked.
Yeah, pretty much rocking and rolling. I'm gonna switch pictures if I can.
Okay, for the listeners that can't see this, it's very much like a really tall grey with basically long blonde white hair.
Yeah, it's like a Nordic and a gray had a hybrid child.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like.
So how close was that to what you saw?
Very close. I'll bring up another picture and share that as well. So again, here's the bangs.
Wow.
And then, but longer hair, page boy cut. And you notice the eyes are a little bit bigger.
Yeah, big eyes.
I couldn't see the eyes too well, but they were covered with sunglasses, and they're kind of wrap around.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it makes you think: are they more sensitive to light, and that's why they've got to wear the glasses, or
their eyes are just too weird to pass for human?
Yeah, because they've got big eyes, and 100%. Oh man, that's so interesting.
So that is almost exactly what I saw. That's pretty darn close. If you take those two images of the shorter individuals, that's pretty much spot on.
Wow, man. So the guy, Cole, that was showing these entities around, what was your connection to him again? Sorry, I know you've already said, but what was your connection to the guy Cole that was showing them all around? Did you say a week before?
Carl.
Yeah.
Oh no, he was talking about it on Coast to Coast with.
Okay, cool.
But when he was in the Air Force, he was involved in, or at least was aware that these guys were being taken on VIP trips to all the hot spots in the US where they could blend in.
Yeah.
So, and you see a lot of strange, dare I say, homeless, maybe, types in the sand near the boardwalk. They're always panhandling, or they're playing some mock-up of drums or something. They're trying to earn a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So to see someone dressed differently is really just par for the course. There's people out there dressed like pirates day in and day out.
Yeah.
I'm not even close to kidding you.
Yeah. Oh, I bet, man.
So, but yeah, so there's we'll call them more free thinking.
Yeah.
More free thinking types out there. And they populate the boardwalk. And so an alien would probably blend right in, with the exception of the eyes.
Well, I live near London, so I can relate to that, because it's a similar sort of thing. People dressed, like they dress in all different sort of ways these days, and it's quite normal.
Yeah,
but to see a 7-foot lady in a robe with very white, that is very interesting, man.
Yeah. And she was, compared to her child's top was short sleeved, and she was wearing, I'm not a fashion person, pants that don't go all the way to the mid calf. They go down to the mid calf, I want to say knickerbockers, but I don't think that's right. But I hope. Did the British have a name for them when the soldiers used to wear similar pants back in the 1800s or something like that? But those type of pants are kind of like boot cut pants.
Okay.
So they're a little bit high.
Yeah.
But she didn't care. Capris. That's what I'm thinking of. Capris.
Yes. Yeah. The words are coming tonight, man. So interesting. It's amazing to see something like that.
Yeah, it was incredible. And like I said, it didn't hit me till after they left.
Yeah.
So I was distracted the entire. It was useless the whole night. My partner was so pissed at me. Tim, get the thing. Tim, get the thing. Tim,
Nothing else
oh my
mattered.
god! Right, nothing else mattered.
But it's interesting what you say about the synchronicities as well. We'll say that word again, because stuff like that does
Right.
happen. Stuff like that does happen where
It does.
someone says something and you're like, oh yeah, and then a few days later, something related to it happens, and you're like, wow, like
It's right in front of your face too. It's like,
yeah,
wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Um,
And I mean, you probably would have noticed them because they look so different anyway. But the fact that you took it back to that as well,
it was, yeah, and like I said, everything just started connecting after they left. But the only thing I commented on was the exceptionally long fingers. And I mean, if this is my finger, which is a normally I'm 6 foot, so I have a forefinger about, we'll call that 3.5 inches long.
yeah.
I guess double that. And that's how
Wow.
they were.
See,
That's how
that's
they were
yeah.
moving. Yeah.
That's not human, man.
No, not at all.
So do you think this is
Oh, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, that's fine.
I don't think they had 5 fingers each hand either. I
Really?
think they had 4.
Oh wow, interesting. So maybe not a thumb or
They had a thumb, but they had 4 fingers.
interesting.
Sorry, 3 fingers and a thumb.
Wow, man.
Yeah,
When
4
you
fingers.
saw them, did you get a feeling of, I don't know, was it just, was there a fear to it, or was it, just
I thought it was just, like I'm an old fashioned guy, so if I offend people, my apologies. You remember the old circus freaks?
yeah. Yeah,
If you ever went to the carnival and you saw the circus freaks,
yeah.
whether it was the bearded lady, or and that was usually something she could pull off in in an hour. It's totally fake.
Yeah.
But it was kind of reminding me of that. It's like, oh, that's a weird looking little girl. It's like, mom's kind of weird looking. 7 foot tall with the fingers thing. It must be genetic.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, afterward, click, 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 all these things just started connecting. Oh my god, holy crap.
I'd love to see that, man.
It was a trip, let me tell you, because the kid was a kid. I mean, just a normal everyday kid. She was just super tall.
Yeah.
She was playing with a bunch of 5 and 6-year-olds. They looked to be half her age, but they're probably her age. She's just taller.
Interesting, man.
And they were just running around in circles, laughing their little butts off. It was great.
Yeah. Do you think, I know this is a difficult question and it's just opinion, but do you think that these entities, whatever they are, live amongst us, or do you think they're coming in to visit every now and again? And I know it's difficult.
That is a toughie. I can tell you what I've heard. I have heard that both are happening. That yes, there are more or less permanent alien residents here, and I mean from the stars, kids, not from the shore, not from the borders. So, and regular visits are happening as well. And there was one other experiencer, I think he was also Air Force, who talked about their approach, how they had to come in behind the moon as it orbited in order to, otherwise there was some gravimetric collision and things could spin out of control for the UFOs or for the alien objects. But so if they figure that out and we know about it, I'm sure visits are happening all the time. I mean, look at all the UFO reports. That's kind of speaks for itself.
So interesting, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen UFOs myself personally.
Excellent.
I know there's stuff out there, but to see an entity that's cool.
I wish I could have seen the combo because I've never actually seen. Actually, I take that back. I photographed UFO. I didn't actually see it with the naked eye.
Really?
Yeah. You know what? Let me see if I can share that one with you too. Let me call that up.
What was that like? Was it a dish shape or was it like an orb?
No, I'll show it. They were rods and dots. That's the best way. And I'm not the only one to see that craft. They've been seen on both coasts, here with me and in Florida.
Interesting.
So, yeah, man. Let me call that up real quick. Oh, come on.
Am I okay to share these pictures on Instagram as well? So for people that are listening, can go and check out the Instagram.
Please.
And
that'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you. So if you're looking to see the pictures, guys, just head over to the Instagram and have a look. and I'll probably forget to put them on there.
Okay, this is the one in Florida. This isn't my photo. I have to dig up and bring up mine. But I could share it with you later, and you can include
Yeah, oh,
it if
that'd
you
be
like.
cool, man. So
Okay.
what was that? What did you see?
I saw this, but
Oh wow.
I saw a fleet of them in this configuration, like 3 or 4 or 5 in a row.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it kind
That's
of looked
sort
like
of
yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
like boomerang sort of shape.
Yeah, boomerang shaped. You can make out a slight gray silhouette around the shining parts, but that's exactly what I saw flying
Wow.
northeast of the Winchester Mystery House. If anyone in the world knows where that is, it's in San Jose. You can look it up. The Winchester Mystery House. That's about where I saw it.
Okay. And how big were they roughly?
Um, well, they were at a distance, so I couldn't really tell. In the photograph, I have to zoom in real far in order
Yeah.
to see them. But they were. I'll stop sharing. They were.
Interesting.
If they were that far away, they were silent, no jet noise, nothing like that. And I didn't know I'd taken my picture until JJ. I showed JJ my
Yeah,
photos,
AJ.
and she says, "Tim, you caught you." It's like, what? Really?
Wow.
She caught it. I didn't. That was amazing.
That's
Makes her a good
awesome.
partner in paranormal
Yeah.
hunting.
We've got to mention JJ Rose. Obviously, people that listen to this
Yes.
show, they'll know who JJ Rose is. And
Yeah.
she's absolutely awesome. And
She is. She's
she's
incredible.
your paranormal partner.
Yes. Yeah. She goes hunting with me.
Awesome.
That sounds I should say ghost hunting. Ghost
Yeah.
hunting. We go ghost hunting together.
So
Oh
JJ's
my God.
awesome.
As she is. She
How
is a very talented psychic.
how did you guys connect?
Oh, our story goes back to 2014. I caught a case not too far from me. There was a family being, they had a poltergeist activity and this malevolent shadow entity that started appearing to their little girl. She was like 3 or 4. Not good. And then the parents started seeing it too. And the dad of this little family had just come over from Iraq. He was an army vet, and so he brought his family with him and to his mom's house. This is where it was. It happened at his mom's house, and they were all living there temporarily. And then something wasn't cool, man, and it just escalated and escalated and escalated. And then the shadow entity started appearing at night and started kind of chasing them around the house. And
Wow.
things were being thrown across the kitchen, thrown across the living room. I think there was a report of the cross. They were Catholic, and they had a cross on the wall, and I think it went flipped upside down. And
Whoa.
it shouldn't have done that. The nails in the middle of the cross. So something
Wow.
suspended it there. And so the mother, not of the family, but the guy's mother, the vet's mother, calls a priest first thing. Please come out and bless our house. This is happening, that's happening. And the way it was described to me, because this guy had zero respect for the church at all. It's like the priest walks in, yeah, Protestant or something, he says a few light and splashes some holy water and leaves. And he was very dissatisfied with that response because it was obvious he didn't believe what was being told to them. And I think the mom had to spill a little bit of money to make that happen. So he calls me, describes the situation, and the second before I got there, a cup goes flying across the kitchen. And I knock on the door. He says, "You scared the hell out of me." I said, "I'm sorry." Well, no, here's why. And he pulls me. He physically grabs me, pulls me into the kitchen, says, "Look at that shit." And there's this busted coffee cup. And again, I keep swearing.
No, that's fine, man. You can swear away. That's fine. No
Fuck yeah.
problem.
I'm just kidding. Sorry about that.
That's fine,
Okay.
man.
So there's this busted coffee cup, and he says, "This just happened." I said, "Well, okay, where'd the cup come from?" My wife was doing dishes. She wrapped up. She set the cup down. She walked away. I said, she just set it down. Could have been the heat from the hot water, screwed the cup off. I'm trying to disprove. Says, nope, it was on the draining board. So it was on the pikes, right? That you stick the cups on. It's like, okay, yeah, that took some effort to go flip it off and send it across the room. So he tells me more about what's going on, how his dad and his waning days had this thing he'd do. He'd lock himself in his room all day, wouldn't eat or drink a thing, and had an intense, long conversation with someone in his room. Nobody was in his room. He'd only talk to people through the door. Then dad passed a few days later. And this is when I get the call, it's something like 2 or 3 weeks after that. So he said, what can you do for me? I said, what you need is a cleansing. Unfortunately, I don't do that. But if you give me a little bit, I can probably find someone. So he said, he's disappointed. Oh, he's so upset with me. And he says, it's a good thing you don't charge. I wouldn't pay. As like, hey, you asked for my opinion. This is what needs to happen. Are you sure you can't do anything? He presses me. And I said, no, man, I'm not gifted like that. So I'm motivated. I put an ad out. 2-3 days go by, and I get this call on a Sunday at 9 p.m. my time. My phone etiquette says you don't call after 9. That's just me. That's how I was raised. And it's JJ. And she says, hi, I want to be on your team as a cleaner. I was like, oh, fantastic. I need a cleaner like right now. She says, great. And we wrap a little bit and we go back and forth. We meet in person the next day. Good connection. I call up the client and I say, hey, I got a cleaner for you. I leave that as a message. Nothing. Call him again. Hey, it's me again. I just want to let you know I have a cleaner. She's willing to come out. Nothing. I get, forgive the term, ghosted by this guy. And I called JJ. I said, listen, nothing doing. This person's just fed up with dealing with me, expecting me to have answers that I don't and solutions that I don't. And she says, don't worry about it. I'm sure something will come up. And a week later, we get a case. And you probably heard me talk about it on my show with her, where we get a case where the victim of a satanic cult who was almost killed had something haunting her apartment. But that case was awesome.
Was that your first case together?
That was our very first case together, and man, did she knock it out of the park. We got in there, we saw all kinds of stuff. We had immediate battery drain. I mean, even the backups drained. I didn't have the damn things plugged in. Wow. And we were operating, we were plugging stuff in the walls frantically, trying to get charges up on our cameras. So we're down to just physically walking around. And so the tech through gets chopped short. Psychic stays outside. That's how the protocol goes. And then I call JJ in, and she gets to the door, and oh my God, and she senses it right at the threshold. And I've talked about the threshold before. There's something about it psychics see, and I kind of do it. It happens to me too. If there's enough activity, you go, oh, something's wrong with this place. Maybe you felt that yourself.
As soon as I mean, I've walked into places where I've got a bad vibe straight away.
Right.
And you're like, exactly. I don't know what it is, but there's something not right, and you just know.
And it's almost like a cartoon. It's like you hit the door. It's like, oh, something's wrong. Something's way wrong.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So you get that. You get that as well. You get those.
Yeah. JJ. Whoops. Dropped my cap. JJ classified me as an empath.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So kind of like Deanna Troy, I have a girl gift. That's a horrible way to put it. There's tons of male empaths out there. I'm so sorry. Maybe we can erase that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I've been told. Well, people have said that I'm an empath, and I've got, I don't know, like I've got I get certain feelings and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I don't put myself in any box or anything, but I
Well,
definitely get feelings and stuff.
well, neither do I. That's why I said JJ classifies me
Yeah.
because and I can see where she's saying, having the experiences I've had over the years doing this job has opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it's not like I haven't had psychic experiences before because I have. I've had precognition, I've had um, telepathic communication. That was weird, and I've
Interesting.
had ever since I was a little kid. I've been able to see auras around people.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Interesting, man.
yeah.
Can we get into
So
that? Can we get into
yeah,
all of
sure.
those things? Because
Oh yeah,
they're,
sure,
they're
sure,
all
sure. There's
amazing.
sure, please. Where
So
do you want to start?
we'll start with the auras. So was that something
Okay.
you saw as, so you say as a kid, you would
Mhm.
see colors around people?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
It
Around
was
everyone. Is that everyone that you come and
everything living. Yes. Everything. My cat at the time, my mom, my dad, everybody. They all had a glow around them.
wow.
It was weird. Um, and I finally mentioned it to my mom when I was a little guy, and like this is like 3 or 4. I said, "Mom, there's a light around you," and she didn't say, "What's the matter with you?" She cocked her head and said, "Tell me more," which was cool.
Yeah.
Upon
Yeah.
reflection, I go, I'm thinking, oh, that's a good mom right there. She didn't dismiss me right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she asked me to explain it, and I would later learn that she's rather psychic herself. So there's something in the family.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
believe I believe to this day my grandfather, who passed a couple of decades ago, or maybe a decade ago now, he was psychic. He predicted his own demise, unfortunately. And
Wow.
yeah, and that came. I only realized that when he pulled my cousin and I aside at a family gathering, and this was a week before he passed. And he shows us he's old Italian guy, so he's got to have these rings on his fingers, right? Jewelry was a big thing. I'm not into it myself, but he pulls my cousin and I aside and says, "Boys, you're gonna have to fight over these rings when I pass." And we look at each other and it's like, oh, all right. I don't know if we got to fight over them. He says, "Yeah, I'll just call dibs on the amethyst right now." It's like done. You can have that amethyst. And I took the little ruby thing, and but then something's off about it. That's it. That's all he said. "Okay, boys, go on, have fun, go get some hot dogs or whatever." And we walk off. I peel off with Grandpa. Now, in the way his house was set up, there was the main exit into the backyard, and then he had a personal exit off his bedroom, a little sliding door deal. So I follow him up to that because he doesn't go with us, which he should have, but instead he peels off and goes to his room, and I follow him. And I say, "Grandpa," and I risk it. I said, "Did you see something? Did you have a premonition?" And he looks at me, and tears well up in his eyes. And this is a tough man. Oh man, was he a tough guy? This guy didn't cry. He cried once ever that I saw, other than this, and that's when his son passed, my uncle. Uh, but tears well up in his eyes, and he kind of he's his head moves almost in a head shake a little bit. It's really really subtle, and I realize I've heard him. And I feel awful asking the stupid question. It's like, "Grandpa, you know what? It's okay. It's fine." And he smiles at me, and he gets all tough guy and macho with me and gives me one of these in the arm and says, "All right, get out of here." It's like, okay. But I knew we'd seen something. And like I said, a week later, he was killed. He was killed in a traffic accident.
Oh man.
Yeah, he went like that. It wasn't hard. It wasn't prolonged or anything. But
Wow.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
convinced to this day he saw his own
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah. And then you picked up on that as well.
Yeah, he saw just the way he said it. He was a little misty when he was telling us about his rings.
Yeah.
And when I asked him the question point blank, did you see something? Did you have a premonition? He was shocked. I mean, it's just the way he looked at me, that tears welled in his eyes. He's
Yeah.
told me everything I need to know in that look.
Yeah, man. Oh, wow.
So
That must have been tough.
that
Wow,
was
man.
really rough. Yeah, I was in a weird state the rest of that day. We both were. We sat next to each other the rest of the day in silence, but it was still good vibes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, wow, man.
yeah.
So going back to the auras,
Mm.
would you see different colors for different people relating to their personality?
Relating to their mood, it was basically a glowing mood ring.
Okay.
Remember mood rings from the 70s?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
little bit older.
Yeah. No, we still get them.
Okay,
My
excellent.
kids still got them now. So yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Let me see your mood ring. Oh,
Oh, they're angry.
okay, you're just grounded on principle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of like a mood ring, and if people were really pissy or angry or whatever, I'm sorry, pissy probably means something.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's the same. Yeah, it's the
Okay,
same.
same. Okay, excellent. Because I guess I'm confusing pissed with pissed.
Yeah.
Because that pissed means angry here, and it means drunk.
Yeah, no, it's same, man.
Okay. Okay, excellent. I'm misinformed. That's great. But anyway, so if they're really angry, it always kind of has this bluish kind of mix to it, and it's got flecks of purple in it, and it's kind of radiates out in a wave, blah blah blah. And so if they're mad, it turns blue. At least from my perception. I understand others who see auras I'm way off the color grade from them, which is weird. But and
Interesting.
if they're if I'm at a bar, or back when I used to go to bars, I don't go so much anymore. But I was a roadie for a rock band, and so I was at bars all the time. And you could always tell I could always tell who the horny girls were because they had orange kind of an aura to them.
Interesting.
It was great. It was really fun. It was fun just to pick up on those girls.
I'm gonna buy her a drink.
That one can go to hell.
Wow, that's
so
mad.
that was fun. But yeah, different colors meant different moods, basically emotional states. Oh, and if someone was sad, they were kind of a red or a green sometimes a mix thereof, but you'd see definite flashes of both colors. And
interesting.
or I would. And then if they were in a pleasant, happy mood, it was white and bright yellow.
Wow. So is that
Very, almost angelic.
everyone you come across? Do you see that without even thinking about it?
Yeah, totally. It's diminished over time. I see, but I see a thin outline still a little bit.
That's so interesting.
When I was younger, it was way out from, like, maybe an inch out from people, and now it's just kind of paper thin around.
Wow. I find that fascinating.
It's an interesting thing.
This might be a ridiculous question. Can you see it around me now?
I
Or
have trouble with the electronic stuff.
Yeah,
especially
okay.
since you have a filter on, so it's kind of
Yeah,
messing with
yeah.
it a little
It
bit.
blocks true. Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
Interesting.
I don't see it through electronics that well. I'd have to
Yeah.
really,
You've got to
really
be in the room with them,
I
or
have to be in the room. Yeah, I have to really focus.
that's so interesting.
Nowadays, I have to focus, but I don't know. Actually, it's funny if I get like a shot of whatever in me, I loosen up a little bit and it pops back on a little bit brighter.
Really?
So
It's interesting, man. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder why that is.
probably because I'm more relaxed and less self-conscious and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
That's a guess, but
Interesting
My
stuff,
all
man.
4 units of psychology back in college says that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm kidding.
That's fascinating, man. So what other you said you telepathically communicated with people? Can you
All
tell
right,
us about that?
that was a one-time thing. I've covered this on my show, but hey, I'm more than happy to repeat myself. That's fine. Uh it's a fun story. So I there's this woman. I call her my sister, and she's just I when I met her, we just connected like family, and I thought of her and I called her my sister all the time. We're not blood related. Uh, that kind that's going to kind of speak to this a little bit, but she was living at the house for a while, and she was taking night classes at the local college, and I was driving her. She didn't have a car at the time, so I was driving her to college one night, and we're just sitting there. There's music on, nothing doing. We're at a stoplight waiting to get on the freeway, and this huge, and I mean huge, old school monster truck rolls up next to us. Some guy just had to drive around the monster truck, and California is so weird. So this guy, it's nothing but his big tire rolls up, and she says, "My God, that thing's huge." And I turned to her and I say, "I know, that's gigantic, isn't it?" And she turns to me and she says, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I said, "You just said it was big." And I said, "Yeah, it was gigantic." She says, "Tim, I didn't say a word." I start doing this with scratching the back of my head, because there's this weird sensation. There's this rattle. Like, you know, that parietal, not the parietal bone, but that bone at the back of your skull kind of sticks out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
That part of your skull. Well, it was tingling like something was rattling underneath it as this was happening. And she says, "Tim, I didn't say a word." I said, "Yes, you did. I heard you plain as day." And it's still itching, still scratching. There's still that weird rattling sensation. And it finally fades. She said, "Tim, I didn't say that. I thought it." I said, "Get the hell out of here. You did not." She said, "No, dude." And she was serious. Just a look on her face. She said, "No, dude, I thought that."
Wow.
And then she says, "I've never been able to communicate with anyone else like that other than my own brother, her actual biological brother, who had passed about 5 or 6 years earlier." Um, and I said, "Oh my God, really? Let's try it again." And we couldn't make it work again.
Wow.
But it was just a weird one-off. And
Yeah,
it was so banal. That's been most of my psychic experiences, banality. I mean, they're
yeah.
really just lame, everyday things.
No, man, they're cool.
No,
So
it's cool. The event is cool, but the matter of the event, the subject matter, boring as hell. There's a big truck.
but
There's a
the
big truck.
lady, the girl that you was with, was she a twin? Was it a twin brother that she could connect
No, she
with?
was a younger sister.
I was sorry, a younger sister. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting. And it's interesting you got the sensation in the back of your head. So
I
you've
found that
opened,
interesting too. It was a weird little rattle. It was like
like you've opened something up without even knowing it.
possibly,
Possibly.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
interesting, man.
and a few times with JJ over the years, I've had that happen.
What
With
you've heard her voice.
yeah, and she's across town. And
Really?
and then she texted me like a day or two later. Did I say something to you about this? I said, I said, "You did and you didn't." And I explained to her what happened. She said, "Oh, that's amazing. I haven't done that with anyone except my dad. So maybe I'm receptive that way. I don't know."
Yeah, interesting, man.
But
Do you think you've got, if you wanted to open yourself up even more, you could?
yes, I think so. I think I'd have to get a little more into what's that called? You sit there, meditation.
Yeah,
Meditation. That's
yeah.
the word. I'd have to get a little more into that. I haven't done meditation since I took martial arts, and that was gazillion years ago. And just part of the practice, just to center yourself. But I I was a bad meditator because I kept falling asleep.
Yeah. Too relaxed. Too relaxed.
Too relaxed, right? Too centered, overly centered, right there.
So
And
interesting.
so I imagine that I could if I focused on it. I had this one event prior to becoming a paranormal investigator where I I was afraid of ghosts. Silliest thing in the world for a ghost hunter to be afraid of ghosts. Yeah. So
I'm the same, man.
yeah. So I was afraid because I kept expecting the movie thing where there's an axe stuck in the guy's head and the blood's dripping down and he's lumbering toward me and he's a ghost. I didn't want to see that. So I said, I'm I I go to this group, and of all things, it's the first and only time I've ever experienced this in my life. All male psychics in this group, all male psychics. So I explained my situation, what I was doing there, that I was interested in their process, and I'm a beginning paranormal investigator, and I was afraid of ghosts. I didn't want to be afraid of ghosts anymore. So they start talking to me, say, close your eyes, you're the focus tonight, we're going to help you out. Okay. So they take me through this I call it more of a trance-like state versus a hypnotic state, because they didn't say now you're a chicken type of thing. It was just talking to me, keeping your relaxed, eyes closed, remember your breathing. And it was a long drawn out thing that actually dives into a past life of mine. Uh, I'll go into that later if you like me to.
Yeah.
But at the end of the process, I open my eyes finally, and I hear this skipping sound next to me, and we're outdoors. Where it's a summer. Well, it was about summer nights, but this thing seems to be when things happen to me. I hear this rock skipping across the grass, and I look to where it's coming from, and there's a human entity, a human shaped entity, and it is okay. So remember my aura thing? It's kind of an outline around
Yeah.
people. Okay, so take that outline, remove the person, and fill it with TV snow, TV static, that
Yeah.
kind of vibe. And they're peeking out. I'm trying to do this around a bush, but I could still see their entire forms. This big overgrown bush in their backyard, and they're peeking out and they're throwing rocks at me. And that was a ghost. I said, "Do you guys have a spirit in this backyard?" And one of the psychics says, "Oh yeah, that's Charlie or some name we assigned to it. He's harmless." And I say, "He was throwing rocks at me." Yeah, it happens sometimes. Very blasé
Wow.
about it. But that was the my first ghost sighting as an adult in a very long,
Interesting.
since I was a little kid. What I had experienced as a little kid too. And that's probably what scared me.
Yeah. 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 100%, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So you opened yourself up, and then you could see
It
the
was
ghost.
I could see the guy. It was plain as day, and like I said, he was trying to hide behind a bush. And if you were a person, he would have been able to, but because he was energy, I could see the entire outline of him.
And is
It
that
was,
did that stay with you, and you could still see things for a little while?
yeah, still to this day. When we were at the
Oh,
Winchester Mystery House the other day,
yeah.
I saw as clear as day, and everyone says that place is tapped out as far as ghost energy. That's wrong. Uh, JJ was with me, and the rest of my scary team was as well. Um, and as we were being guided out of one room into another, there's this guy, and damn, do I have his picture? If I have his picture, I'll show it. I'll send it to you. He's got a handlebar mustache, old school. He's got a driver's cap, and looks like a pleasant enough fella. And he's sitting there and he's staring at me in the corner of this unfinished portion of the house. And he's got what looks like a old school wheelbarrow, kind of looked like a crate with a wheel on it, basically. And he stares at me, and he's purplish and hue, just up and down purple. And then he fades from sight, and almost like a flash, almost. It's like suddenly this color spectrum of whatever he was shifted, and it was almost it got brighter, and then he was gone. Kind of like when if you hit your head or you get punched and you
Yeah.
get that flash, that thing. That's kind of the way
Interesting.
he disappeared.
And it had like the whole entity was a purple color.
Yeah, it was a purple hue around throughout the whole thing. His entire being, including his little wheelbarrow,
Wow,
had a
man.
purplish hue to it. Light purple, not like a grape or anything, but purplish, definitely.
And other than the purple, was it a solid form?
Yes, yes, it was. It was. That surprised me. It's like because I glance over, and this happens in maybe 3/4 of a second. I'll lock eyes with the guy, and then he pulses out, and
Oh man,
yeah, but he
that's
was
cool.
solid. He was solid for a second, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's cool, man. And this is a difficult question as well. But do you think that that entity that you're seeing there is knowing, or do you think that is just an energy?
I think he might be in a loop. That's what JJ posited. So
Okay.
I'll go with her experience on that and say he was on a loop because he was still in the same clothes. It looked like he was in the middle of a job,
Yeah.
and it looks like I caught him by surprise. That's the look he had. It's like, what the heck are you doing here? And then he was gone. Um,
Interesting.
yeah,
So that would that be a spirit that is stuck replaying the same situation over and over again and not
it,
knowing possibly that he's
right.
doing?
Yeah, can you imagine that being stuck in a Groundhog Day and not knowing?
Yeah, I mean, unless you're in a really good moment that you just want to like, that'd be
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
But if you don't know, you don't know.
if you
But
don't know, you don't know. Yeah, it's pointless.
I find it fascinating.
You know, it's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, because I've seen ghosts myself, and I often
Oh,
wonder if you're seeing something that is still there, like the person is still there, or if you're seeing just an energy that's trapped there, or if that makes sense. I don't
oh
know.
yeah. So you're saying a ghostly entity versus a moment in another time, a
Yeah,
flash
yeah. Are
to
you
another
seeing,
dimension.
yeah, sort of a trapped moment energy?
Hmm.
I find it
Uh,
fascinating.
that is fascinating, and I believe both are possible.
Yeah,
Um, as my personal experience and research indicates that both are possible.
yeah,
Um, it's amazing. There's so much unexplained in our physical and metaphysical worlds. It's a that we're still in a state of discovery, which is fantastic.
yeah. That's why this topic is the whole paranormal spectrum. It's just
Yeah,
amazing.
me too. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I
Yeah.
feel the exact same way.
So these entities that you still see today, is this something that happens to you daily?
No, I usually I don't see. Well, now that you mention it, I don't see them daily, no. But I do see there's a couple of things that run through the house every once in a great while, like last night. Believe it or not, last night.
Yeah,
I was the way my house is partitioned, not partitioned, but the way it's I have a built-on rear covered patio. It's basically like an additional room to the house. Um, and I could see into the house through the kitchen window. So I'm out in the back room. I'm watching TV, and I swear I see someone walk by in the house. Now I know no one else is in the house. They're gone. They've been gone for hours, and they're not coming back until like midnight. And this is like 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. The sun's still out a little bit, but nonetheless, I double check. It's like, yeah, yeah, I better check that out. just in case someone came in through the front door because I am oblivious to what's happening out front. I have
yeah,
no, I have no idea. So I grab a little weapon, like it's like a knife or a machete or something. I just happen to have there. Stalk through the house, clear it, check the blocks and everything, and no one's there. And I go, was there a weird shadow that something fly by outside and I caught it through the transoms or something? of the back room, and possible. So I write it off. I sit back on the couch, and not 15 minutes later, I see the exact same thing, except it goes the opposite direction inside the house. And again, I get the machete. I clear the house. I make sure I check doors and windows again. Solid. We're good. But yeah, I definitely saw something.
Interesting.
And,
Happened last
yeah.
night as well.
Yeah, it happened last night.
Interesting, man.
And I didn't get a vibe or anything. Usually I get a vibe if I'm in the presence of a spiritual entity. And I didn't have that. It's like if whatever was there, whether it was something outside reflecting in or it was an entity going through the house, it didn't stay.
Yeah.
But it was definitely enough to make me get up and sweep the
Yeah.
house with a machete. Like that would have done any good. But
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I might surprise the first guy in the room, but if he's got a partner, I'm hosed.
Interesting though, man. Because I've had moments like that. You see something in the corner. That happens quite a lot. You see, it happened to me today. Funny enough, at work, I see something, and I look. There's nothing there, but you see something move in the corner of your eye.
And I get the floaties. I have the kind of eyes where I get the floaties, and then that was my first thought. I was like, was that a floaty?
Yeah.
And I do the check.
Yeah. Is there another floaty? Yeah, yeah.
Is there a floaty? You can make the floaties move if you whip your eyes back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And no floaties. So I check the house. But yeah, it looked like it almost looked exactly like my mom, which is
interesting.
Interesting.
But you actually see color, and you see that it was a lady.
Yeah, it was about her height, had her color hair. It was weird.
Interesting, man.
And I'm actually reminded of another story. I don't think I've even told JJ this.
Oh.
There was let's see. I had just gotten a couple of check that. It was 2 years after I got a cat. She got pregnant, had kittens, whole thing. Gave most of the kittens away. I held on to the baby cat because the baby cat was a bit of a runt and needed a little extra loving and stuff. And the mama cat was more than happy to. Anyway, so this is about 2004, 2005. And they're outdoor during the day. They just like it that way, especially when they were younger. They just love being outdoors. They tolerated being inside if they could cuddle with me, and that's about it. Definitely my cats. And so I'm about to let them in, and they do what they always do. They sit there very patiently, wait for me to call them in. I didn't train them to do that. They were just that way. And so there's mother, there's the fluffy baby cat, and next to the fluffy baby cat is another fluffy baby cat. But this one had weird eyes. They were human. And the way they blinked, it looks like their eyeballs didn't quite fit into their socket. And every time they blinked, they had to really kind of correct to look forward again. And I swear I saw one eye shift from the nictitating membrane to a human and then back again.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, that was messed up. And this cat was just, and the other two cats were like apart from it. Like they purposely gave this thing some space, but the other cat was just sitting there ready to come in. I knew that wasn't one of my cats. So
wow.
I went up to him and said, "Go get." I didn't have to chase them too much, and they turned around and they sauntered off. But my impression was that I got a vibe off that thing. Let me tell you, my impression was that was a doppelganger of some sort.
Wow. Interesting, man.
I've never experienced anything else like that in my life, where somebody mimicked the baby cat, sat right next to it, and
yeah, that's terrifying.
It was messed up. It was really messed up.
Wow, to see a cat with a human eye, I mean, that is just.
It was weird. It was like I said, the eyeballs didn't seem to quite fit into the socket. It's like they were really having a hard time locking on, looking forward. Like I don't know if you get extra tired or extra drunk and your eyes go a little cockeyed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of what this cat just couldn't lock in, and every time they did, the eyes looked too human.
Wow. So it's
Yeah.
like this thing was sort of transforming, but maybe just, I don't know, struggling, or I don't know.
It was
Yeah,
struggling. If I had to guess, and again, I will say this: I don't know for certain. I'm taking an educated guess based on what I know and what I've read and all that fun stuff. If this was a doppelganger, a shapeshifter of some sort, it was having a hard time maintaining its form. That's how it felt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you got the bad vibe from it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Which,
Absolutely.
if it's a doppelganger, it's normally not a good.
Yeah, there was something off about that. JJ, actually, I did tell JJ about this. And JJ says, I think it was a witch's familiar looking for you. What? It's like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Now that kind of brought me over to something else, that witches familiars traditionally have had the ability to shapeshift from human to animal and back.
Yeah.
So
So it was looking for you.
it waited for me to invite it into my house.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you shooed it away. You got rid of
Me
it.
too.
It's not
I
good.
because I almost called it out. I was this close to saying, what the hell are you?
Yeah.
This close to calling it out. I played dumb and I said, go kitty, go, go, go. Because I'm not even close to kidding you, dude. I was this close to calling it out. What the hell are you? That's what I
Yeah.
wanted to say,
That's,
but I didn't want to I didn't want to chance anything
yeah.
flashing out. So I played
Yeah,
dumb.
man. I mean, just what would have happened if you called that in? I mean, what could have happened? I mean, that
I
is
can only
terrifying.
imagine, man. I can only imagine. I don't know. It could have been a call to power. It's like, here, want some witchcraft powers? Yeah, why
Yeah.
not? But but I didn't want to take that
That's
risk, man. I
terrifying.
mean,
No, I don't blame you. Wow.
yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, that was
Did you see that cat ever again, or was that just a one off?
one off.
Interesting, man.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
Do you
A
think
lot of my
obviously?
experiences. Go
No,
ahead.
I love it. I love it, man. This is amazing. Do you think with the abilities that you've got and JJ and people that have got similar sort of abilities, do you think you attract things like doppelgangers and things like that that for whatever reason
Yeah,
are trying to find you?
possibly. I mean, there's a school of thought out there that says if you go looking for it, it will find you.
Yeah.
Uh, so I wish that happened with my Bigfoot expeditions. I haven't seen one of those yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
But I gotta get out there a little more. But if you go looking for it and you open yourself up to those the paranormal possibilities that these different things and entities and even alternate dimensions and all that fun stuff exist, and you accept that, you will, one, be more open, and two, you're going to, like you said, attract things, because sometimes you go looking for it and sometimes whatever it is, comes looking for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's terrifying. It's fascinating, but it's
It's
terrifying.
fascinating. Exactly. I'm in the same boat. I love it and hate it at the exact
Yeah,
same time.
yeah. And I think that's why I love doing this show and talking to people about their experiences. It fascinates me. It does scare me a little bit as well. Obviously,
Yeah.
I've had quite a few experiences, and I definitely agree that if you when you open yourself up to this stuff, whether you like it or not, stuff's going to happen. You're going to have experiences.
Yeah. That's seems to be the thing. There was the alien thing didn't. Oh, actually, there's something related to the alien thing. About a month or two ago, I'll go over this briefly. We've been talking for a while. The JJ and I both, without realizing it, asked for the exact same thing. Put it out in the ether, where if you're gonna visit, ring the doorbell to the aliens, right? And because I don't want to be sucked up into the belly of a ship on a dark and lonesome road. I'm of the state of mind, the predilection, if you will, that if you're, I'm not even sure that's the right word, but if you're going to visit me properly. Ring my doorbell.
Yeah. Introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, knock on the door, say hi. I'll bring you in. You can eat and drink whatever appeals to you, and we'll have a conversation. And yes, I am going to record it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that is beside the point. So I put it out there, and I wasn't even trying that hard. It's not like I focused on it too much, but lo and behold, a couple of days after I put this out there, ding dong, 2:30 in the freaking morning. And I'm groggy. It's like, is someone playing Ding Dong Ditch at 2:30 in the morning? What the heck's going on? I get my trusty machete and I have it tucked behind me as I peek out the door. No one's there at all. And so I test the doorbell. I regret it because it wakes everyone up. But I go, ding dong. Yeah, I for sure heard my doorbell. I wasn't dreaming that. And nothing doing. I'm groggy and tired as hell. I got work the next day, and so I pop back to bed. A week later, to the day, to the hour, 2:30 in the morning, ding dong. This time I'm up. I was up because I was having a shitty night. And so I'm looking for shadows by the front door through my window. And then I walk around, machete in hand, kind of tucked behind me. I'm not looking to offend anyone if I don't have to. I open the door. I go, hello? Nothing. And so maybe I wasn't quick enough on the draw to get the door open and say, come on in. But
Interesting,
it
though,
was
man.
interesting that I put the vibe out there and I got a response.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
So
response
this,
I was looking for, but at
it,
2:30 in the morning, I should be
yeah,
more
nah,
specific,
yeah.
man.
Between these hours and these hours, but not sleeping hours.
Right. Right. You got the right coordinates. Good job.
Yeah, just a
Here's
little too
here
late.
are my hours of
Yeah,
operation.
yeah. Wow, though, man. You say that's quite a recent thing as well.
Yeah, that happened about a month or two ago. Yeah.
Wow, so there could possibly be another knock soon.
It could be. Watch, it'll happen tonight, right?
Yeah, yeah. If it does, let me know straight away, man.
We're talking tomorrow anyway, so
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
works.
Are you okay to carry on for a little bit, or
Absolutely,
yeah?
absolutely.
Awesome, man. Because I know we've been going for quite a while, but I've still got some questions for you.
Oh, please. Okay.
So you said you had experiences as a child that sort of set you off with your fascination in the paranormal, which normally happens. We normally kids that experience stuff. I did myself. That does normally set us off onto this path. Well, can I ask you what happened to you?
Yeah, it's a ghost story. You're gonna like this. So I am approximately 3. I know what you're gonna say. At 3, I got a wild, active imagination. As I tell the story, you can realize I was not imagining this. So I'm 3. Um, and I slept with my door open back then. And I think there was a hall light or a night light or something small that was kept, or maybe it was in the bathroom. I don't remember, but there was a small little night light so I wouldn't get scared. And I'm fast asleep. And I don't know what time it was. I know it was probably the wee hours, close to 3 or 4. And the living room light flips on. And in walks what I now describe as a stewardess, because she was definitely wearing some sort of work uniform, and it'll kind of look stewardessy. And I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say flight attendant these days, but back then they were called stewardesses. And she was a blonde lady, trim, fit, the whole thing, like most stewardesses are, or were, or are. And she she sees me. She looks right at me because I open my eyes. It's right, it's right in my face, this light. And she sees me. She puts her hands on her hips. You know how women do that? It's kind of funny. They do it different than men. And and she puts her hands on her hips and she cocks her head a little bit and she starts screaming at me, really, waggling her finger. No sound coming out of her mouth. It's like she's miming it. And then she takes a couple steps forward, yelling at me. I'm a little kid. I don't know what the hell I don't know who this lady is, for starters. And she's screaming at me like in silence. It's the most bizarre thing in the world. And it freaks me out because suddenly she's advancing. Like every time she takes a breath, she's advancing on me. And I'm prone. I'm in my bed, right? And so I do what most little kids do. Like, clinch up, pull the covers up over as tight as I can. I close my eyes as hard as I can, wishing it away. And I don't hear anything. And finally I open my eyes and she is right here. She has stooped over to look at me at my angle, like, like you do with little kids sometimes. But she stooped over. She's in my face. She goes, bah, 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 yelling at me still in silence again, waggling her finger. And I got really a little too close. That was too close. And I rocket out of bed. I go through her. I go through this woman. And it was the sharpest cold I've ever felt in my life. And I haul ass down the hallway into my parents' room and I wake them up. I said, "Oh my God, there's a lady in my house. She's scaring me. She's in my room." And they think I'm full of shit. Dad says, "Ma, yeah, go take care of it. No, Mom, go take care of it." So Mom walks me back to my room. I think I get a cookie and milk for my troubles. I get calmed down and, we'll talk about, it's okay. She's gone now. And so it clicks with her that the living room light is on. I'm 3. I can't even reach the light switch at that age. And she said, "Did you turn on the living room light?" I said, "I can't touch the living room light. I can't reach it." She knew that. She said, "Well, who turned it on?" I said, "The lady did." And my mom says, "What'd she look like?" And I explained it to her. She talks to me about it a little bit. And she calms me. She says, "Well, she's gone now. She's not going to come back," like she knew. I'm sure she was just trying to get me to sleep. But yeah, she took a minute, perused the house, checked the door, checked the windows, finally turns off the light. "Good night, honey," goes back to bed. And that was the first ghost experience I ever had.
Wow, man. And that is a
That's
terrifying one.
yeah. I
There's
mean,
wow.
yeah, to have her. What struck me is the fact that she literally got in my face and even
Yeah.
went to my angle in the
Yeah.
bed, which she cocked her head prone, at the same alignment as me. Amazing.
Wow, man. And was she solid? Like was it like
Yes,
a lady was there?
she was there, full bodied. My
Yeah.
guess would be she lived in the apartment before us.
Yeah.
And somehow, the funny thing is, we never saw her before or after that, ever. And
Interesting.
we were there for years.
Yeah. Interesting,
So,
man.
someone
Wow.
tells me she lived there before, and maybe it was the anniversary of her death, or I don't know.
Yeah. And she didn't
I don't,
seem happy.
no, it's like she caught her lover in bed with someone. That's how I kind of interpret it now.
Yeah.
Is that she saw someone in that bedroom that wasn't supposed to be there, but it's just the way she was waggling. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know, maybe less of a lover, cover lover and fooling around, more like a dog pissed the bed or
Yeah.
something like that. But
Either
because
way, she was angry.
she was very pissed off. She was very angry. And she yeah. It was so bizarre, man.
Yeah, and the fact that you're not even hearing like you're seeing her talk, you're seeing the actions, but
Yes, right.
nothing's
Oh
coming.
my
That's
God.
freaky as well, man.
Yeah, that was the, you expect to hear sound
Yeah,
when you see
yeah.
Bill. And it was same thing with
Wow.
the aliens. That kind of relates to the aliens a little bit,
Yeah,
because she did not move her mouth at all. There was no sound. She just looked to her mom. It's still indicated,
yeah,
but so maybe there's some telepathy going on there.
yeah,
Narrowband
man.
telepathy. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting. And she's actually coming for you. Like she can see you, and she's coming to you.
Yeah, there was total recognition that I was there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow, man.
there was a strange little boy in her bed. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really don't know what her perspective was, but she was pissed off. She was pissed about it. Let me
It's
tell you.
terrifying experience as a
Yeah.
3-year-old, man.
Oh
That
yeah.
is
I did not sleep well for weeks
no, I
after
bet.
that.
I bet. Did
Yeah.
anything else happen in that house after that?
Oh, let me think. I know I had a lot of nightmares in that house.
Yeah.
Like really bizarre, exceptionally vivid nightmares, mostly about spiders. I recall that distinctively. Spiders were the enemy of my
Yeah.
childhood. Never mind my waking life. I actually found them kind of cool and interesting,
Yeah.
but they always came after me at night, and it was so bizarre. They always came in clumps. Like they descend on the. I'd see the shadow of the in the dream. Now I see the shadow of this clump of spiders. This close on one strand coming,
Yeah.
and then they get through my window somehow, bedroom window, and start crawling after me. And I'd run. I had nowhere to go. I'd keep jumping over things, and they keep following me. It was horrible.
Yeah, man. I'm not a good spider guy.
Yeah,
And being the man of the house, I get the call. There's a spider because my wife hates spiders.
right,
So
right.
I can't pick up spiders. Like my dad used to just pick them up and throw them out. I don't know how. It doesn't matter how big they were. But I can't do that. So I'm a glass guy. The glass goes on and they get taken out. So I don't like spiders, man.
Yeah, I do that. Sometimes I'm that humane as well with the spiders. Other times it's like I get the big box,
Yeah, yeah,
or the flat shoe.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah,
yeah.
it's a
Game
stain
over.
now. You're staying now, buddy. Oh, one time I actually had this. I don't think it was a tarantula, but it was as big as a tarantula.
Oh wow.
Crawl into somehow got my house, and I'm not in a spot where tarantulas usually hang out. It could have been no, it was in October, so it was kind of cold. But I mean, this sucker was big. Maybe it was I don't know if you know what a wolf spider is, but it wasn't quite that
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
It wasn't quite that big, but it
Wow.
somehow made its way into the house and hung out on my living room wall all night, and I didn't know it.
Oh man.
It wasn't cool. Yeah, I wake up and
Oh
what's that?
yeah.
And I don't have my glasses on, so everything's kind of a fuzzy blur. It's like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, man.
My first thought was a hornet's nest got built overnight. That doesn't make sense. And so I get the spectacles on, and oh my god, it's got 8 legs.
Oh man, I'm
And
not
that
good with
was that
spiders.
was that was a glass one, a big mouth jar. I had too. It was funny. Usually I use the air trick to make the spiders shrink, but lately they just jump off the wall, which I
Yeah,
never.
that's yeah. Where are they gone? Yeah. Oh my
So, but then
gosh.
fortunately, the puff of air trick made him recoil, and I got the jar around him, and then I tricked him. But he was quick. He went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I had to time it just right.
Yeah.
Then I had to shake it up a little bit to keep him off balance and get the lid on.
Yeah, man, I do not like. I
Oh,
remember I was doing an interview once, and there was quite a big spider just walking down the wall. And obviously, I'm doing the interview, and I'm trying to just stay cool and just like ignore it. But it's very hard
yeah,
when you don't like spiders, as you know. And
yeah.
it's disappeared somewhere around my desk, and I'm like, oh man.
Oh
And it
no,
was just in the back of my mind the whole
no.
night.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, is that crawl? Is it crawling on me? It's crawling on
Yeah,
me,
and you
isn't
start
it?
itching. You start itching. You're like,
Right.
oh
You get the
no.
heebie-jeebies about the
Yeah,
whole thing.
it's on me.
Yeah. You're
So
scratching left and right throughout the interview.
yeah. Guy I was interviewing was like, "What's going on with this guy? He's itchy."
Do you have fleas, my friend? What's
Yeah,
happening?
he's got to shave his beard, man. So, grow, growing up, was you seeing more entities and stuff like that, or was that a one-off thing?
The ghost of the stewardess or flight attendant, excuse me, was a one-off. Never saw her again. Um, but it it was strange. I guess my mom had blabbed to her sisters about it because suddenly I was the talk of the family about the kid who sees ghosts for a little bit. It didn't last very long, but suddenly it was nothing but ghost stories, and I don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
So it was bad nightmare to bad nightmare forever, it seems.
yeah,
But yeah, but did I see stuff all the time? No, not really. There was what I wanted to see. If you have a wish to see, it was a UFO. That was my big thing. I like Eric Salagi has said in the
yeah,
past. That was his bread and butter growing up as far as an intro to the paranormal.
yeah, yeah,
And for me too. So I watched In Search of with Leonard Nimoy and watch him talk about UFOs. In fact, his UFO episode is still one of my favorite things ever.
yeah.
And I have a copy of it. I was like, yeah, I'll put that in tonight.
Yeah. UFOs
And
fascinate me. I've seen
oh
I've
yeah,
seen UFOs and
have you really?
yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
Like
man.
up
I've
close or
I mean, yeah, pretty close. Yeah, I mean, I've had some different experiences. Um,
wow.
I'll get into that when I come on your show, man. We can talk about
Yes,
that.
I was just taking notes
Yeah,
on that right now.
yeah, yeah. I've seen. So I find it fascinating, and especially in recent years, I'm always out there looking for it. Like I'm always
Good for you.
always looking because, and you see stuff. I think when you spend a lot of time looking at the stars, you're going to see some weird stuff that you can't explain. Obviously, there's
Yeah,
stuff up there like the Starlink and stuff like that, which I still find
mm.
amazing. I saw that the other day, and I was like, "That's cool," even though we know what that
That's
is.
pretty cool.
Well, they tell
Yeah,
us
yeah,
we
yeah.
know what it is, but I find
They
it.
say that's what it
Yeah,
is.
they say that's what it is, but it's interesting stuff, man. So
But
you
yeah, there
you
was. Go ahead.
no, you go. Sorry, man.
No, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
So you was in the military.
Yeah, I was in the ROTC program in the Air Force,
Massive
and
respect, man.
so well, I wasn't in combat or anything. I was an officer in training, and I did not finish that training.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
I tried,
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
the Air Force and I agreed, not for you, buddy. So
Yeah,
I left,
that's
but
fine, man. There's nothing
I
wrong with
did
that.
try. I did try.
Yeah,
Um, the thing that I saw the most stuff on that I wasn't supposed to. I'm gonna get shot for this. Was when I worked at NASA.
yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, I worked at there's a base not too far from us out here, and that's where I worked. In fact, I was kind of a legacy, but not at NASA, at Lockheed across the. So there's an airfield that NASA and Lockheed share or used to share, and so my dad and my granddad worked at Lockheed. I worked at NASA, and for a time we were all there at the same time. It was kind of fun.
That's cool, man.
That was great.
That
But
is
yeah,
cool.
it was amazing. It was just a matter of being the guy told to make copies of documents, and the printer would mess up all the time. So we had to these little tricks we used to get around from having the boss come down and reset the printer with a code, because each document had a barcode on it that the computer in the copier read, and we could only make so many copies unless the boss came in and overrode it and reset the count. Well, he doesn't want to ever do that, so I got taught the trick of taking the cover off and making the copies of the documents. And when you finally get the count of the number of documents you need, then you can put the covers back on. Or you copy the cover that many times and then you go from there. but the thing jammed like constantly, and it would jam on some pretty interesting things. I think I can talk about them now. It's been
Yeah,
about
man.
25 years ago,
Yeah, it's
but
fine.
good enough. Please don't kill me. Uh, but I know for a fact we have. Let's see, their word for it was gravimetric manipulator or something like that. That's a rough remembrance on my part. Basically, Hollywood terms, tractor beam.
Interesting.
And the plan was they actually had an outline of the demonstration, and they were going to take a coin, flip it in the air, and the beam was going to catch it and move it around over the audience, and then release it and pull it back and forth too. Apparently, it was a high functioning prototype, and I actually saw it work. It was pretty
Oh,
cool.
so
It was
this is
big too.
this is technology that NASA had.
It's technology that was either brought into NASA, whether NASA developed it or not, I'm not sure, but NASA was definitely either interested or used as a medium to introduce this technology to either the military or some of the real other agency. And I guess NASA got read in on it because I think NASA, even to this day, is kind of like the go-to checks and balances for new technology. So if DARPA or some other organization develops it, they do their checks, and then it goes to NASA. They do their checks, and I think there's a third entity now that rechecks all the systems before something gets put together and
Wow,
distributed.
interesting, man.
And I think I'm pretty sure England actually has, excuse me, the UK actually has a something very similar
Okay,
as far as those checks and balances being in place.
okay, interesting, man.
Because I seem to recall, oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank on the name. Former Ministry of Defense. He's
Nick.
on that. Nick.
Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What's his second name?
Okay.
Yeah, we don't do second names. Just Nick.
It's Nick.
We don't do the second names. Let's get freaky. Nick. Oh, what's his second name? Nick Pope. Nick Pope.
That's it. Good
Yeah,
job. You're on
yeah.
top of it tonight,
I
man.
don't know how. Yeah, Nick Pope was the English. He was in the Ministry of Defence in the
Yeah.
UK.
And I think
Yeah,
he mentioned something about those protocols being very near, if not exactly like the American protocols. So, as far as
interesting.
new technology coming in, where it came from, I don't know, because it was a surprising device. It one of the things that it had going for it, as like one of the top bullet points in the presentation I saw, was that it didn't require an immense amount of energy like you might expect, like that you can run it off a car battery or something like that for like a couple of 3-4 hours before you had to change it out. It's pretty cool. But it was maybe it was a truck battery, but it was a large battery source, but it was portable essentially. That's what they were trying to push. I've not seen that device used anywhere, but you know, they may have
Interesting.
changed the design of it and what it looks like, but basically, kind of like, oh, I've got to be a total geek here. You remember the Transformers, the
Yeah.
old cartoon?
Yes. Yeah.
There's this guy, and his name escapes me too, but he was one of the bad guys. He was on Cybertron, and he was purple, and he had the one little eye socket thing right here, and he
Yeah.
turned into basically a ground cannon. Well, it kind of looked like that thing, like what he
Interesting.
transformed into.
Wow,
And
man.
it was on the swivel gimbal thing, and it was kind of big, maybe about the size of size of your average desk, I guess. If you take an average work desk, you know.
Interesting, man.
Mm.
And you saw this working.
I saw it working. Yeah, they were testing it afterwards. They did a second fire because they did the primary fire for the audience, which I wasn't allowed to be at. But then they did a secondary fire because there was a weird glitch they were trying to work out, and I happened to walk in. It's like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. And but they didn't say anything. They just said, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "I'm doing good. Everything go okay?" I just strike up a conversation with them. So yeah, we got a weird glitch and this, that, and the other thing. Like he said something super specific to, and I can't recall what it was. But and then someone says, "Are you supposed to be here?" I said, yeah, my boss just left this valise behind. Yeah, that's it." I just bugged out.
Interesting. When you work at NASA, do they tell you that you can't talk about this sort of stuff at the time?
There were certain things that we couldn't talk about, and I was under a very basic confid not confidentiality, but it was there's some boilerplate like secret level stuff, and it ended in 25 years. And that was 1990, 91 to 92, 91 and 92. So that was.
So you're good to talk about it now.
I never got a renewal notice about it, so yeah.
Wow, man. Interesting. Was there any other things that you saw there that were
I saw
you shouldn't say, but please do?
there was something I again accidentally saw about a warp drive concept. And it's not the one everyone knows about. It was something way different, and maybe it was an early concept of that, of the one NASA has put out since. But that's the donut looking thing. It's got the two metal donuts around the ship, and they call it the Enterprise, of course. It's going in space. It's called the Enterprise. But it was a different, way different concept. It seems they. Am I blinking because your internet connection is a little?
Yeah. I think it's because we've started talking about NASA and stuff. This always happens.
Sorry,
always happens. You start talking about government
teddy
and NASA,
bears. Let's
things
put some new
start
keywords
happening.
out there. Teddy bears, unicorns.
Yeah. That's what we're interested in. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
It
we got
does
the
though.
good keywords in.
It does. When you start talking about this stuff, things do start happening sometimes. It's weird.
But yeah, there was a warp drive concept I saw drawn up. Whether they actually and there was a schedule that says they were going to test it in like 10 to 20 years time from that point, and that was 91, 92.
Interesting.
So about the time I saw the aliens is when they were testing those things.
Yeah. Wow.
But the concept was way different. It almost looked like I guess the best description would be they took the space shuttle and they put Enterprise pylons on it. So, but it was, instead of being out to the side in a V, it was one under, one over. And that was their concept of this craft. And it was, like I said, it was basically the space shuttle, but it wasn't quite that. But that was their concept for it. They were going to try it out, apparently. I don't know whether it went anywhere, but they were serious. I mean, even back then, they were considering, a faster and light approach to space travel.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then there was and they had it all figured out, man. I mean, the inner workings, the power source, they were pretty close. And if they didn't go to prototype, I would have been very, very surprised. Very surprised. And if you take into sorry, we're glitching again. Ponies.
Yeah. Fairies.
Fairies, dwarves.
Yeah. Football.
Okay. Football. There we go. Okay. Or you have a clear connection again.
Mad, isn't it?
That's crazy. But I imagine they did go to prototype to one degree or another, because you've heard about the secret space program.
Yeah.
And you can't do that without an FTL drive of some sort, right?
Yeah.
So who knows?
Fascinating.
Yeah, it was fascinating stuff. So it was track wings, it was warp drive, and it was there was the other one, space age type thing. God, what was it? I'm sorry, it escapes me.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So it's that NASA do keep secrets from us, like a lot of secrets.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
One I heard kind of interesting. It was lately. It was an Instagram clip. I've never seen this before. when I worked at NASA, we had the actual stages of one of the Saturn V rockets out front on display. And I love space. I love space travel. I love sci-fi. I love all this. If it's about space, I'm all about it. And working at NASA was an absolute dream for me, even though I was a lowly intern. It was still a lot of fun. And they had a little mini museum there of the different things. Oh, I got to hold a moon rock once. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to reach into the containment thing, and they
Yeah.
had the gloves on, and everything. And I held it. It was kind of weird. It was surprisingly light, and it was really delicate. It kept losing dust you just turn it like this, and it start crumbling bits and pieces. And I said, okay, you're done. Put it down. Okay. And
Wow. Not many
it
people
was
can say
cool.
that, man.
No, it was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. But I digress. I saw this thing on the internet recently where I think it was Collins, one of the American astronauts that went up, and Apollo era. I'm trying to think who was on Apollo 12. It was Armstrong, someone else, and someone else. Ah, shoot! Now I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, he says he was talking to a little kid about how come we haven't been to the moon. The kid asks, and he says, "Well, we had to fake it the first time." Whoa, hey, what? And this is a guy who vehemently was on the news back in the day. He says, "Well, we never actually went there." And that way, hold on now. Hold on now. That blew me away of him saying that. Now, man, I've always been a firm believer that we actually went there. I
Yeah.
mean, I worked at NASA. It's pretty hard not to believe we didn't go there. I
Yeah.
mean, there's stuff on the moon you can look at right now. So I think we did go there, but maybe his mission got scrubbed somehow. I don't know. But
Interesting. I know the video you're talking about as well.
yeah. And so he's telling her this, and then but it is in direct opposition to what was reported by Neil Armstrong, where he was there on the moon, and he switches over to the medical channel, and he talks about the UFO and the aliens on the ridge of the crater, saying, hold up, we gotta
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
so
man.
maybe his mission got scrubbed, or maybe he was on the mission that didn't go, where it was faked. Kubrick was involved. That's my
Yeah.
favorite part of the whole thing. That Kubrick was involved. Yeah, I'll shoot a moon landing for you. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy who did Full Metal Jacket. It's like, yeah, I'll fake a moon landing for you. Why not?
Yeah.
So, if
So
anything,
interesting.
is so weird. Yeah, that's just a strange. The whole moon landing thing is strange because we can literally look at the moon and see those objects there
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they left behind. So,
That was
I'm. Yeah, go ahead.
that was my next question for you. Did we land on the moon?
I firmly believe it, even though Collins, or I think it was Collins, said that to that little girl. It was,
Yeah, I know the video you mean. It's very
yeah,
strange. And he's come out of a
yeah.
few things like that. There's been a few
Mhm.
videos where he said cryptic sort of things that
Yeah.
implies that we didn't go to the moon and stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, we had to get someone up there. I mean, how? Because, like I said, you can literally pick up a reasonable telescope and look at the moon
Yeah,
and
yeah,
see it and see
yeah,
stuff on there.
yeah.
Um, so
Because another
yeah,
theory is that we went to the moon, but they couldn't really film it properly, so they sort of faked the filming side of it, which I don't know. I mean, that's just another theory that people say.
no, my dad actually brought this up to me the other day, or was it the other day? But anyway, he brought it up to me recently. He says, "How did they get that angle of him coming down the ladder?"
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think there was a camera on the arm, Dad, the whole time. I said, well, they have a picture of him landing, of the lunar module landing. And
yeah,
all they had, it was on remote control. All they had to do was adjust the gimbal on the camera. He says, But did they have that technology back then? I said, I don't see why they wouldn't. They had a lot of newer technology on there. They're probably slapping everything they could on that machine
Yeah.
to make it happen. And so that was my argument for it.
Yeah.
But I think you actually bring up an interesting point. I think maybe both were done. So one team did go and one team didn't, and maybe filmed it and did a lot of fake stuff and all that fun stuff. There was
Yeah.
a movie recently that explored it where they even, that famous test, they have a feather and a bowling ball, and they did it. I think it was Apollo 16 or something like that, did it. And testing that Newtonian physics thing, they drop at the same time and they both land. And in the film, talking about faking it, they said that they made a feather, they dipped it in lead, so it would fall. So they got an eagle feather dipped in lead and it fell, just like the
Really?
bowling ball would. Yeah.
Because I find it strange that apparently now, apparently, I don't know if this is definitely true, but apparently NASA claim that they can't, that they've basically forgotten how they've done it, how they got to the moon. I've
Really?
seen they haven't got the they can't go again because they don't know how they got there. Have you heard that
I've
one?
never heard that.
I mean,
No.
if that's, I mean, that might not be true, but that's something I've heard. And how can they not remember the
Well,
steps they went to? They
never
must
mind.
do.
That thing was thoroughly documented. I mean, even we have that archive footage now. You can
Yeah,
actually find it on the NASA website. A lot of the archive footage is on there. A lot of the behind the scenes steps that was top secret at the time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, at least it used to be. I don't know if it still is, but it used to be there. And
Interesting.
yeah,
They need to
it's
go back there now
yeah.
with today's newspaper. Be like, yeah, see, there you go.
See,
Yeah, there you go. Even then, someone
oh,
would see something.
someone will
Yeah.
poke a hole in it somewhere. It's like, no way you can get there 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure you can. Um,
Fascinating stuff, though, man. How long was
yeah,
you at NASA for?
I was there for 2 years. I was a very young person. I was like
Interesting.
18, 19. I think those are the years I were there. I was there.
That's so
And
cool.
yeah.
I don't think I've
So,
spoken to anyone that's worked for NASA before, so
was that right?
this is an honor,
Okay.
man. Yeah, that's
Oh,
cool.
well, too bad I'm just an intern. I mean,
That's cool, man. Not many people can say they've worked for NASA,
I
so
got to land the space shuttle simulator too. That was cool.
yeah. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, they
Awesome.
actually, because the astronauts came in, they train on our facility. We had one of the few facilities there because they land at Vandenberg, and if they didn't land at Vandenberg, they traveled to Vandenberg and then fly up here. They couldn't come directly for some weird reason. I think it was a security thing. And but we had the big 5-story simulator there, and they had I had like something like 20 extra hours left on the training module, and it was paid for, and they didn't know what to do with it. And the next training session wasn't for months and months and months. So they said, well, we got to get rid of it. It's so weird how the federal government works. So they put the invitation out to all the branch leaders on base and said, if you want to come fly, sign up now. So my boss puts the word out. It's like, yeah, I'll come down on Saturday at 6 a.m. I don't care. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so we all took turns trying to land this thing, and 4 of us crashed. I was lucky. I landed it barely. Like I got it down on one wheel and then down in the back, and the nose came down. And but I barely made it. I was practically bingo fuel when it happened. And
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
so I didn't get the best score, but I did bring her down safely. Everyone else, just about everyone else crashed her. So,
Wow.
so
See, not many people can say that, man.
it
Cool
was tough.
stuff.
It was tough because those controls were realistic. They were fighting me. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
you have to be
Yeah.
a bodybuilder to work that thing, man.
Awesome. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Is there any more NASA gossip you can give us?
Oh, just funny little things. The Air Force One showed up at my base more often than I can count. For some reason, Air Force One was always there, always there. I don't know what was going on. I never saw the president or the vice president at the time, but Air Force One was always there for some reason.
Interesting.
And I saw we had wind tunnels there, big, and we had one called the 120-foot wind tunnel, and it was huge. You can actually fit full-size fighter jets in there and their chassis. I got to see that being tested. That was pretty cool. And then I also saw them testing at the time, which was the latest Harrier jets, where they were trying, I think they're using rocket assist turning, stabilizing. So they're in VTOL, they're sitting there, right? They're hovering, and they're trying to get that turn to happen in place so they can lock onto a target if they had to, but still be kind of like a floating tank kind of a deal. So they were testing that system there. That was kind of neat. I could watch that for hours, and all they did was turn like that.
Yeah.
But it was still
It's
fun.
interesting, man. It's super interesting. Wow.
And,
Awesome stuff.
Lots of crazy planes. They held the air. What's that called? The air race is not that. That's Reno. Air show. They had was one of the major air shows was there. Like every year, it was great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Blue Angels will fly over, scare the hell out of the audience. It was great.
Awesome stuff, man.
We had we were the first ones that host where the air show hosted a Russian fighter. The Iron Curtain had fallen, and everything was cool with Russia for a while.
Yeah.
And so that was like 93, I think it was. We had a MiG in the show. It was great.
That's
really
awesome,
cool.
man. Awesome experiences, man. Thank you for sharing that as well.
Sure. They're not very paranormal, but
no, I love it. I love it. I'm sure the listeners love that as well, man. Tim, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I feel like I still want to talk to you more. Is there any other freaky experiences you can share before we say our goodbyes?
2 hours.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm sorry. This is fascinating.
Don't apologize.
Stuff.
I could do this all day. I guess that's a problem I have. Let's see. NASA. I think I tapped NASA. Personal experiences. I kind of did that. I think. Most of my experiences I cover on my channel as well. So if you want,
we'll check that out for sure.
Yeah,
man. Tim, you are welcome back on here anytime, man. Because I've loved talking to you. Can you tell
as well
the listeners where they can find your channel, your podcast, and where they can find you?
No, I can't remember it right now. I'm teasing. Sorry. Wacky sense of humor. If you go to YouTube and you type in youtube.com/ actually I have to go there myself to figure it out. Hold on. That's embarrassing.
That's cool. There's so many different social media outlets now.
If you go to youtube.com/ @paranormal_insight, that's paranormal. I can't talk. Paranormal_insight. That's my YouTube channel on YouTube.
Awesome.
But which is where you would find a YouTube channel. Wow, I can't even think it anymore.
I will share that. That will be on the show description as well.
Excellent.
So people can find that easily. Is there any other places? Sorry.
Instagram, paranormal.insight. I don't know why I changed it, but I did. And same thing on Facebook, I believe, paranormal.insight. So that's where you can find me. I've been horrible in my socials, by the way. I'm like at least 6 episodes behind in posting. So hopefully, if you haven't heard before, you're in good. I'll have stuff updated soon.
Well, I've been listening, man, and it's absolutely awesome. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and you're welcome back anytime, man.
My pleasure, man. I really appreciate it. I enjoy your show as well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, brother, and I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, man. Take it easy.